early for me, so
Y-
it's it's
Yeah,
6 a.m.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I am extreme. If you had told me that it was you could do it at a later time, then I would have actually, made the meeting convenient for you. But I didn't know that it was that time in British Columbia.
Yeah, it's very early, but it's easier because I have a very full day, so it's better to just get it over with at 6 a.m. and continue.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you so much for joining. Now, we are with Professor Jemima Pierre, and Dr. Jemima Pierre is Distinguished Faculty of Arts Professor of African and African Diaspora Studies in the Institute of Race, Gender, Sexuality, and Social Justice, and Faculty Associate in the Department of Anthropology at the University of British Columbia, Vancouver. She is also a Research Associate at the Center for the Study of Race, Gender, and Class at the University of Johannesburg. Trained as a sociocultural anthropologist in the African Diaspora Program at the University of Texas, Austin, her research and teaching engages with African and the African diaspora across three broad areas of inquiry: the relationship of political economy to race, as articulated through capitalism, white supremacy and imperialism, migration, transnationalism, and diaspora. And third, the ethics and politics of Western knowledge production and disciplinary formation. Welcome to the program, Professor Jemima Pierre.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, so today we are going to be looking at gang suppression in Haiti, America's blueprint for policing the world. And that is what we are seeing in the world. Haiti has been long treated, Professor Pierre, as a testing ground for US imperialism. And today we expose how the Gang Suppression Force is part of America's blueprint for militarized policing, not just in Haiti, but globally. Join me and Haitian American scholar Jemima Pierre. Now, Dr. Pierre, we are seeing that this global suppression force, and last year under Biden, well, was it last year under Biden and Kamala Harris, we learned about the Global Fragility Act. Is there any connection between these two terminologies?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the Global Fragility Act was passed actually under Trump back in 2000 and I think 19, but
Hmm.
ratified under Biden, which
Okay.
just shows you a continuity of agenda across whoever, no matter whether it's Democrat or Republican, U.S. imperialist agenda continues apace.
Yes.
And that's, I hope everybody knows this by now. And so the Global Fragility Act was a new way of the U.S. to conduct its work, its imperialist work in the region and in Africa, because the and Middle East, West Asia, I should say, the few the three areas that they were focusing on were Haiti was the
Hmm.
first, the Western Sahel states, they say, not
Hmm.
Sahel state, the Western coastal states in Africa, and
Hmm.
then Iraq, in Libya.
Hmm.
Right. And so, and for Global Fragility Act was passed, and the whole idea of the Global Fragility Act was to say, well, we need to focus on fragile states and make them, they're called fragility, right? And so the U.S. had a 10-year, so Haiti was the first test case. And
Yes.
in this act, the U.S. was trying to find a way to get what they call other nations to actually cover its foreign policy objectives. And so the key point of the Global Fragility Act was to bring together the Department of Defense, the Department of State, well, now it's called the Department of War, but the
Right.
Department of
Hmm.
War, the Department of State, and USAID to come together to work as a way to quote unquote stabilize Haiti. But the stabilize Haiti means having access to its resources, controlling its power, but also not having to pay for it. And so to get regional actors to have a stake in pursuing U.S. Objectives in Haiti, but them not having to pay for it. So then, it basically said we use aid, we use NGOs, we would use State Department, and then we would have to use military force if we needed to, but we could put that aside to regional actors, global countries in the region that can come in and do the work that we needed them to do. So it worked perfectly because the U.S. was able to get CARICOM countries
Hmm.
to come in, for example, to sign off on this multinational security support mission, the MSS,
Hmm.
that they send in, that the U.S.
Kenyans and Jamaicans.
that
Hmm.
brought in Kenyans, Jamaicans, Bajans, Bahamians to come and
Hmm.
basically occupy Haiti on behalf of the U.S. And people have to understand that this is on behalf of the U.S.
Hmm.
And so that's what the Global Fragility Act was. It was just using all these things and then funding NGOs to actually come on and, they, in Haiti's case, it was like a 220, 250 NGOs to basically support U.S. policy objectives. So that's what you had, and it worked in politically because you were able to get CARICOM involved in basically installing an illegitimate and illegal transitional presidential council in Haiti, and it was really behind Mia Motley, behind closed doors, where they all met in Jamaica. And handpicked who the representatives from Haiti would be. And then you had Mia Motley tell them that they would not be put on the presidential council if they did not agree to a foreign mission coming in, which was the mission with the Kenyans. So the first thing they did when the presidential council was installed was to request this Kenyan mission. Now, the Kenyan mission has been a complete disaster because it's underfunded. And I have to step back a little bit. Part of what's happening is the U.S. wants a permanent military presence in Haiti, but it cannot afford to do so. And what it wants to do is use the same kind of system that it had from 2004 after the U.S. removed Haiti's president
Hmm.
and had the UN come in with a 12,000 force. Occupation force, which occupied Haiti from 2004 to 2017 and left behind a whole political structure like the core group of foreigners that still run Haiti. So they wanted something like that. And the UN this time, because of Russia and China's vetoes at first, did not want to send a multinational force where the UN would have to actually be responsible for, providing the human and military resources as well as the money, right? The UN would pay for it and so on. So the US had to settle for
Hmm.
this multinational force, multi MSS, where they bribed the Kenyans with a state visit to the
Yes.
US
And I
and
just
and
want to
money.
I want to emphasize that the Chinese and the Russians are now supporting the global what's called the GS.
GSF, the gang
Yeah,
suppression,
right. So what is the difference between then and now, would you say?
right?
Why are Russia and China supporting that sort of
Right.
move
So
now?
the gang suppression force was then brought in after the multinational force with the Kenyans
Hmm.
supposedly did not work. And
Hmm.
so then U.S. and Panama wrote this Panama of all places.
Yes,
Let's be
Panama too.
clear,
Right, absolutely. I'm
which
happy you're
has
saying
its
that.
own major,
Hmm. With the
gang and violence. Right.
And the
If you
Panama
look around,
Canal. Remember now that Trump was actually bullying them that they are going to take over back the Panama Canal. So
but
when I
they are
saw
they are
Panama, I was like, what's going on here? But go ahead. I'm
But
sorry.
they're a right-wing government, right? And so just remember that. But then remember, the MSS was co-written by Mexico. These
Oh.
are our leftist friends, right?
Mm.
That participate, and that's the one thing about Haiti as a laboratory. It's even the left um, um,
Mia Mottley too is,
participate in that.
yes.
If you can consider her left, but yeah, if even the left. I mean, I have an essay called "The Leftism of the Americas." Crumble at the door of Haitian sovereignty because everybody participates. If you all remember, in 2004 when Haiti presidents was removed and Haiti was invaded by this illegal force, it was Brazil under Lula that led the
Yes.
military wing. So
Hmm.
let's be clear. So Panama and the U.S. wrote this gang suppression force because the U.S. really wants a military space there, and so they were able, in order to replace the MSF. And the thing we have to think about is this force is actually a lot more difficult, a lot more, they call it more lethal and more
Hmm.
robust.
Hmm.
And it requires 5,500 military officials that basically bypass the Haitian government, bypass the Haitian police. The Kenyan force was actually supposed to work with the Haitian police under the Haitian police,
Hmm.
basically, even though it didn't. But this force, which was given the go ahead by the UN Security Council, is supposed to work. It's supposed to have I have it here somewhere. It's supposed to have uh, uh, a board that actually has no Haitians, has
Yes.
no Haitians in it's a standing group of partners, which is basically has all these countries outside of Haiti, Bahamas, Canada. Canada's always involved, of course, Kenya,
Mhm.
that basically work like the core group in Haiti that run things in Haiti. But it's also allowed to arrest people, imprison people without any say from the Haitian government. In fact, when this thing was being passed, countries like Guyana, Algeria, Sierra Leone, and Somalia tried to put in language
Mhm.
in the global the GSF, saying that we need to call for quote full respect for the sovereignty and political independence of Haiti. They wanted to put that into the text, but it was rejected by the US.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so you have this military force that's being put on Haiti illegally because the Haitian government is illegal and illegitimate, was not elected. Whatever they sign is not binding.
Yes.
And one of the reasons China and Russia, and so to go back to that, who've always actually what they've done is they vetoed the first couple of things. The U.S. has been trying to get a military presence in Haiti since 2021 and 22, when the Haitian people were protesting against the illegitimate government that the U.S. had put in place, the Prime
Yes.
Minister Ariel Henry.
Yes.
And so they wanted to, and they used to call them gangs back then, even though you had hundreds of thousands of people in the streets protesting their economic situation and political problems. So they wanted to do that. And so when they tried to do that, get a UN military force, Russia and China were against it. The Russia and China abstained on the MSS with the Kenyans because the CARICOM countries told them to. They did not want to step on any toes. This time, Russia and China actually released statements explaining why they did not support it. The U.S. was able to get the Organization of American States, as well as CARICOM, as well as Mexico,
Mhm.
to actually push for this GSF, the Gang Suppression Force. And so Russia and China said, well, they did not want, and then the Haitian government, so-called Haitian government itself, requested that Russia and China not veto, right? So this is why they abstained. They were still against it. They put out really strong statements against it, but they said that they could not actually override the call of the Haitian government, as well as all these governments, including the CARICOM state and the OAS states, to push for this foreign military invasion force in Haiti.
Yes. Now, could you tell us, Professor Pear, I have never grown up hearing that Haiti was any, place of gangsterism and gangs.
No.
We know that Jamaica and other countries in Latin America and Caribbean have been, but Haiti, no. When did we situate Haiti and associate Haiti now as a gangster and a, place?
Right, and that's very recent. And people need to remember this. Like, if you do a search for gangs in Haiti
Hmm.
wreaking havoc, it doesn't go more than like 4 or 5 years.
Right. Right.
Right. And so you forget. So everyone, because the Western media controls global media, right? So
Hmm.
I'm sure in Jamaica and the Caribbean, everybody watches CNN,
You're right.
BBC World Service,
Hmm.
Voice of America.
Yes.
These news services are, for 221 years,
Yeah.
all the Western media has been writing about Haiti in very particular ways. And so people don't realize that up until 2022, what was going on in Haiti were protests against U.S. intervention and occupation, protests against the core group, which kept installing illegitimate government and supporting illegitimate government after illegitimate government. In fact, even when the president of Haiti was assassinated, no one attributed it to gang violence, right?
Absolutely.
And so we have to remember that. Just do a search from 2020. Haitians were not considered gang violence. And so the people were protesting, especially Ariel Henry, who basically removed fuel subsidies from Haitians because IMF, the IMF is about keeping us poor. Let's everybody
And
remember
after
this.
and after disbanding the Petrocaribe, remember the Petrocaribe?
Right. The
That was very.
Petrocaribe that Hugo
Hmm.
Chavez had given, which was amazing,
Hmm.
where Venezuela, when oil prices were high, Venezuela provided the Haitian government with oil. for delayed payment. And so
Mm-hmm.
they did not have to pay for 25 years, and it was at 1% interest, so that
Right.
they were able to use the profits from oil sales for development. The US was completely against that because it wanted its own oil companies, but it also did not want Haitians out of poverty. Let's be real
Absolutely.
about
In
this.
fact, it was after the Petrocaribe, the disbanding of this agreement, that I heard about continuous protest actions
Yes,
in
and
Haiti. Yeah.
but the other thing is the U.S. installed government of Michel Martelly and the right-wing political party PHTK
Hmm.
stole 2 billions of that money.
Right.
That's why you saw had
The
there were protests from
protests.
2018,
Hmm.
2019.
Hmm.
They're saying, where's the Petrocaribe money? Because the Haitian government, so-called Haitian government, had basically taken all of it, and they're all living large right now in Florida and elsewhere. And so
Hmm.
you had massive protests, millions of people in the streets, and then that continued to go. And then when the president was assassinated in 2021, the US installed a prime minister that no one wanted. And he was supposed to be installed only for a few months, but then, our new presidencies begin in February. And so
Hmm.
February comes around and he refused to step down.
Right.
And the Haitian, we had Haitian solutions. We had different groups like put together a transition plan. The U.S. bypassed that and it kept this man in power until and then he started calling the protests
Yes.
gangs, and he's
Hmm.
saying it's the gangs, it's not really people. And then it's so much so that the civil society in Haiti actually had to release a statement castigating the UN Secretary General and all these people for saying that the Haitian problem is a gang problem, and they're saying that it's the UN and the core group that has allowed the gangsterization of Haiti. And
Right.
have you have to
And
see
gangs are now terrorists. Very
right.
important that we understand that. So the United States now has the right to strike by
Exactly.
drones or bombs because they need to get rid of the terrorists. Go ahead,
They need
Professor.
so-called right. And but the other thing is Haitians doesn't do not produce guns.
Hmm.
Haitians do not produce ammunition.
Hmm.
And all the guns and ammunition that come through Haiti that get to Haiti are coming from the US primarily and
Hmm.
secondarily to the Dominican Republic. All
Hmm.
the ports in Haiti, the ports that guns are privately owned by the oligarchy,
Hmm.
who also used to pay young men back in the days to go after their rivals, right?
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
that's a whole, so there's a story of that. But you're right. Up until 3 years ago, no one would say Haiti had the highest crime rate. Actually, Haiti did not have a high
The
crime rate at
lowest in
all.
the
In
region.
fact,
The lowest
at
in
the
the
same,
region.
the lowest, and at the same time, you have Jamaica,
Hmm.
of all
Hmm.
places, sending military or police to Haiti. They have a state of emergency because of gang violence in
Well, I don't
Jamaica.
know if you noticed that, in recent times, was it last September or the beginning of October last year, we heard that the Prime Minister of Jamaica earned a PhD at one of these universities in security and whatever, in gangsterism and whatever he did his PhD in. That nobody knew he was doing a PhD, and suddenly he got a PhD from the US, and now he's building a state-of-the-art headquarters of police, a national headquarters of policing. So I don't know if it's for the Caribbean or it's for Jamaica, but he has also written an article in the Jamaica Gleaner about the global war on gangs. So
Right.
obviously he's being used as a US puppet to enforce
Yeah,
such
but
legislation.
we have to say the entire Caribbean has been used as puppet. And as we see the U.S. gear up to go
With
to war
Venezuela.
or
Hmm.
against Venezuela, we
Hmm.
have to actually talk about the
Yes, please.
comprador, Guyana, the role of
Hmm.
Guyana
And
in this,
Trinidad.
and
And
Trinidad
Trinidad.
with Kamala,
The
what's her
Caesar.
name?
Hmm.
When the U.S. is, bombing
Yes.
fishing boats,
Yes.
and no one's saying anything that this is even if they were
Correct.
drug users,
Due
there are
process.
laws, you have
Hmm.
to give them due process. and so
Absolutely.
and so we have to understand that all these the reason Haiti is a laboratory, because they've had a fight in installing puppets the way that they install puppets in Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana.
Hmm.
The people push back in a way, and I think that's what we're suffering for. And
Hmm.
they managed to put in these puppets now, this nine-headed presidential council,
Hmm.
because they could not do it any other way. They'll say free and fair elections, but really what they want is their puppet installed. And they have
Absolutely.
not been able to do that consistently in Haiti, and so they have to do this. And so this gang suppression force, I do think it's a way to establish gangs as the terrorists. And let me just say, the biggest gangsters working in Haiti is the US government, the Canadian government, and the French government.
And the
They're the
NGOs.
ones,
And the
huh?
NGOs. And the
And the
NGOs.
NG.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones, over the past 21 years,
Mm-hmm.
removed our sitting president, dissolved the parliament, installed president after president, and
Mm-hmm.
then sent in arms and guns and stuff to give to young people who cannot afford to live, to recruit them into wreaking havoc. Let me just tell you, the biggest so-called gang person that they're looking for, his base is right down the street from the U.S. Embassy. You think the powerful U.S. government, if they wanted to, they could not stop with all the surveillance technology that they have, for example, to help Israel target Gazans, or to help Ukraine in Russia. You think that the U.S. could not tell you where these guns are coming from and could not stop the importation of arms into Haiti? And they're also using Eric Prince, which is the biggest
Yes.
mercenary
Mm-hmm.
in Iraq, who's responsible for hundreds of thousands of
That's.
deaths in
Mm-hmm.
Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
also bringing in tons of guns and ammunition into Haiti. Just no one can control how much military gear he's brought into Haiti. So these are the real gangsters. The real gangsters are the ones, funding a genocide in Gaza, funding, military, and wreaking havoc in a place like Haiti, so that everybody believes that Haiti is the biggest gang problem. Meanwhile, Mexico, who was in the key supporters of this, has cartels. Like,
And
if
75% of the drugs go through the Pacific Ocean. And that's what the United Nations reported and the DEA.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And so if you think about Mexico with the cartels, with the nerve of this shine bomb, who everybody says is the left's darling, turning around being the first one to provide money for this mission in Haiti. So then the U.S. then has every right to bomb Mexico to get rid of its cartels, if we go by that logic, right?
Right.
If we go by that logic. And I do think there's a problem when it comes to the region, because when it comes to Haiti, Haiti becomes the so-called bête noire, right? Literally, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
there's a racism.
Mm-hmm.
Haiti, as one of the biggest populations in the Caribbean with 13 million people, as a member of CARICOM, is the only member of CARICOM that doesn't have access to travel to CARICOM countries without visas, right?
Right.
Haiti's been treated like a dirty thing. It's almost as if we're being punished by even the black and brown countries in the Caribbean for winning the revolution,
Mm-hmm.
for pushing against U.S. imperialism. And so I think that's the other reason why it's so easy for all these people to get on board with the U.S., to go against Haiti, to completely snuff out Haitian sovereignty, because that's what the Gang Suppression Force is doing. Why didn't they have it for Jamaica? I mean, the
They have it
Jamaican
for
police,
Venezuela. They have it not, well, they
right?
haven't said it yet in terms of in that lingo. But as far as we are seeing now, Venezuela is now treated similarly. Because what Trump wants to do is to bomb the country. If Maduro doesn't leave, I think he's going to do that. What do you think?
Right. Well, yeah, because they want the oil. Let's remember, the people, they want Venezuela has the largest oil reserves
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
the world,
Yes.
and they have that thick oil that's really good for U.S. refineries. And so
Mm-hmm.
people need to know that the regime change process in that the
Venezuela.
U.S.
Mm-hmm.
has been trying to do against Venezuela has been ongoing since the 1998 Chavista
Mm-hmm.
revolution, the
Revolution. Mm-hmm.
Bolivarian revolution.
Revolution. Mm-hmm.
And so we have to know this. And they also think it's going to be easy, like a walk in the park, like they did with Grenada, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of Panama, the invasion
Mm-hmm.
of Panama, the invasion in Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what they're doing. And people need to understand the U.S. is using these puppet governments, Irfan Ali in Guyana,
Mm-hmm.
Barbados,
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad in particular, Trinidad and Tobago, with what's her name?
Kamala Person with Caesar. In fact,
Right.
the Barbadian president, because she's not pro-Trump, she pretends to be against it. She's only against U.S. imperialism when the Republicans are in charge, in power. When the Democrats are in power, she is full on board. She's fully on board. That's Mia Mottley, fully on board with U.S. imperialism.
Yes, Mia Mottley, I have to say, played a singular role, and I know this from people who were in the room,
Hmm.
in pushing
She
and
did.
threatening
Hmm.
the Haitian, the so-called Haitian groups that were handpicked, that
Hmm.
if they don't sign on to have a foreign force come into Haiti, that they
Hmm.
will be left off the transition council. This was Mia Motley. That's
She's
her
a
role
bully.
because
She's a bully, and
she's a
everybody knows.
bully,
Yeah, yeah.
and everybody thinks she's still I don't know if she's gonna get it now, but she was trying to get the
I
Secretary
don't think she's
General
going to get it
position
under Trump. Under Trump, she I don't think she's going to be
because
nominated.
she's a black woman, right?
Right, 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 right. And
But
they're
like
not, and the two don't see eye to eye. I don't know what they have against each other, but he's not particularly interested in her, neither she in him.
well, because she's not a white woman. So
Right, right,
let's be clear about that. But
right.
the other part is that it was under Biden that the military force, the MSS with the Kenyans, came into being. You
Hmm.
know, it was just so we have to. There's a continuity of a U.S. imperialist agenda. From the Democrats to the Republicans and so on. So everyone, it was Hillary Clinton, for example, in 2006, that flew to Haiti and threatened to put the sitting president, Lenny Preval, on a
Hmm.
plane and treat him like Aristide if he did not allow the handpicked president that they want, Michel Martelly, to be who lost the first round of the elections. She forced that he be put in the second round of the elections, and she threatened the sitting president that she would remove him. This is Hillary Clinton.
But by
So
the way,
this,
back before she got there, she actually went to Jamaica also because I don't know if you knew what was happening in Jamaica at the time with Dudus, they said it was a drug kingpin, and she
right,
told the
right.
sitting government and the sitting prime minister, Bruce Golding, that he had to go, and he
Yes,
had to leave too. So she did that on one trip, and she's killed two stones, or well, she
yeah,
killed two birds.
yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
No,
ahead.
no, and that's it. And so there are two key things, and I'll open it up for you. You can. I wish I was live so people can ask me questions, but there
Yes,
are
not all the
two
time.
important things.
Hmm.
Is
Hmm.
is the fact that Haiti continues to be used, and so the Gang Suppression Force is going to be used as something that that expands throughout the Caribbean, that entrenches U.S. militarism through the use of proxies, because that's what the U.S. is good for. An empire in decline, the U.S. does not have the forces, so it uses proxies. So it's going to use the proxies of these people who promise military force, 5,000 under a governor general, it's like the core group all over again. The core group still runs Haiti. People have to know that Haiti is still under occupation. It's been under occupation since 2004, and everything that has happened in the last 21 years, the so-called rising gangs, has been under foreign occupation. So if foreign occupation, like the core group, was so good, why is it that it's under them that a president was assassinated, that violence has increased, and so on?
Chaos
And
reigns
so
supreme, and chaos reigns supreme there.
chaos,
No,
and chaos in Haiti is easy for them, right? Even though
absolutely.
you have chaos happening in Jamaica, I mean, the crime rate in Trinidad and Tobago, the crime rate in Peru is
Well,
so bad,
well, they say
but
that that's
that
why
doesn't
they're entering
that
Venezuela.
they don't make those don't make the news, right? I mean,
Yes,
Jamaica was under a state of emergency in December.
still,
That doesn't make
and
right.
Trinidad too.
And
Yeah.
right. But these are this but it's so easy for people to believe that we're cannibals, that we eat people, and so we are the boogeyman of the Caribbean. So it's easy for people to believe it. But it also, the saddest part for me is, like, in this region that's under colonial tutelage still, the one country that fought and got rid of slavery is the one country that all these puppet governments band together to go against, and they are all part of our oppression in the region, and that's the saddest part of it for me.
Okay, now are there examples of strategies first implemented abroad in countries like Haiti that later appear in domestic policing or border enforcement in the US? I think that the US is now being militarized also. It's not just the Caribbean and Haiti, but the US mainland is right now under Trump being militarized. What do you think?
The U.S. was militarized under Obama and Clinton. Let's
Yes.
be real. If everyone remembers the We Are the 9%, Occupy Wall Street
Mm-hmm.
movement in
Yes.
the U.S., which was a
Mm-hmm.
class-based movement.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. was, Obama was working with the FBI and the federal government to militarize um, um, um,
The protest
a
actions? Yeah.
the protest action. And there's a thing called 1044. Is it 1044?
Mm-hmm.
1033. Yes, there's a 1033 program.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 1033, where the military provides U.S. police with military grade weapons. So if
Yes.
people can look at the U.S. military, how they dress, I mean, the U.S. police, how they dress from 10 years ago to now,
Mm-hmm.
they look like they're military officials. And then the cop cities that, that
Mm-hmm.
people were doing in Atlanta, they've been signed up to have cop cities all over the U.S. And so there's a complete militarization of the US government that's been ongoing for more than 20 years. It
Mm-hmm.
looks more like it in Trump because Trump does not hide behind nice words
Absolutely.
and for anything, if we want to understand empire, Trump is the best example because the emperor's naked and you can see everything they've done away with niceties, they've done away with diplomacy. It's just brute naked force. That's why they call themselves the Department of War, which I think is the perfect name. It should have been called the Department of War all
All
along.
along.
And
Yes.
so
But
yes,
it
and
was,
so
you know, it
yes.
was called that and they changed it to the Department of
Right.
Defense.
And
Uh-huh.
so what people have to understand, US imperialism always comes back home. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been home. Like, when the US attacked Iraq, in 2003, all that stuff, when Haitians were using Guantanamo Bay, that people forget Guantanamo Bay, where you had the prisoners of war from the so-called global war on terror, when they went after Muslims and Arabs, and put them in Guantanamo. Before that, it was the Haitians that the U.S. put under Guantanamo. It was the Haitians that the U.S. used to not give refugee status and basically militarize the call for refugee,
Mm-hmm.
which is by law, you're supposed to give people refuge if they ask for it by
Mm-hmm.
international law.
Mm-hmm.
Haitians were the first one that they jailed when they came to ask for asylum. And so we are the laboratory and we are the people, the guinea pigs that people use. We are the bête noire precisely because of our long history of anti-imperialism. And so we have
And
to remember that.
that's
But
one,
that's going to come to the Caribbean, right? I
it is
mean,
already
I hear
here.
that Jamaican police has killed more people
Mm-hmm.
in Jamaica through
It has
extrajudicial
doubled.
killings
It has
than
doubled.
the US and Brazil. And
Mm-hmm.
Brazil is notorious for killing people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if Jamaica's population was like the US, it'd be like 30,000
Mm-hmm.
people killed by the Jamaican police. And
Yes.
so we have to be careful and see how these puppets are put in place to militarize their own governments, both to quell dissent locally, but also to help U.S. imperialism completely take regional control of all the resources that we have. Because in Haiti, that's the other thing that they want. They want our resources. They want our oil. They want our minerals that are under the ground. They also need Haiti because it's in the Windward Passage. If people look at the map
Yes, strategically
between Cuba
located.
and Haiti, that takes
Mm-hmm.
you all the way to the Panama Canal
Mm-hmm.
and to the Pacific. So they need that. And remember, they've been wanting a base in Haiti since the 1800s. They sent Frederick Douglass to
Mm-hmm.
negotiate for Mont Saint Nicolas, which is
Yes.
a tiny inlet
Yes.
right at the northwest of Haiti. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why they ended up in Guantanamo because the Haitian government refused to give them that.
Yes, and what about the fact that there was something that I was going to say, and what I find interesting, Jemima, Dr. Pear, is the fact that the media tend to be so hypocritical that when the Democrats are in power, we don't hear anything about the Constitution. But suddenly, when Trump is in power, we're hearing so many things about the Constitution, and we have to uphold the Constitution and the violations of the Constitution. When under the Democratic Party too, we saw a lot of violation of the Constitution, of the American Constitution.
Yes, definitely. And people really do. The thing is, you have to look at the policies of these people. It was
Hmm.
under Obama that the U.S. Increased its presence in Afghanistan and bombed. It
Yes,
was Obama was called deporter in
the
chief
chief
because he deported more people than all presidents combined. This was
combined.
under
Hmm.
Obama,
Hmm.
right? Obama bombed Somalia
Hmm.
every day almost in his in you know in
What
during
about the
his
war on whistleblowers also? People who would come
yes,
out and inform people of what is
like
happening in the
Edward Snowden and all of
correct.
those people.
Hmm.
These were under Obama.
Hmm.
Obama, so people talk about Trump, for example, taking executive power of the presidency and bypassing Congress, but it was George W. Bush through the war on terror that did that, and then Obama extended his power
Expanded, yes.
over, the fact that it was Obama that destabilized Syria,
Hmm.
Sykes, that came up with the plan to say we're going to get rid of Bashar al-Assad and destabilize Syria on behalf of Israel. So we have to actually really see what people do. Obama was great in the sense that he could, he got the Nobel Peace Prize even before, even before, right before he started his position, and then he became, and then he used the Nobel Peace Prize
And his
speech.
race. And his race, because
And
people
his race.
believed in him that he's a man of color, he's a black man, so he's not going to be evil. Only white people are evil, right?
Yeah, well, they are. They have 500 years of history.
Right. But we also
They,
have human nature also of being
we
evil
have human
because
nature, but
yeah.
we also have a 500 years of Europeans destroying and genociding the world. And
Hmm.
but they've always, the only way they can do it is to use some of us.
Hmm.
We're not innately evil like that.
Hmm.
We haven't not taken over the world and killed millions of people, but they do have a lot of us, what we call on the left, the compradors, to
Hmm.
do their dirty work
Let's
for
talk
them. And they thought,
about
yeah.
let's talk about what academia is doing. We're wrapping up now, 4 minutes left. I don't think that the universities, particularly in the United States and in the West, I should say, are doing a great job of educating our children. I'm sure you are, and a few are, but for the most part, I think we live in this realm of theory, and we're not merging theory with what is happening on the ground with people's everyday life. What do you have to say on that? I think we are doing a terrible job.
No, I agree, but we have to remember the rule, as Marx would say, the ruling ideologies are what was it? The ruling ideologies are the ideologies of the ruling class, and
Hmm.
so what you get at the universities is what the ruling class wants you to get. I'm an academic, and I'll just tell you this: it's
Hmm.
like it's very rare to have academics. Academics are a hand of the state, right?
Hmm.
They're bourgeois academics.
Hmm.
They're traditional academics. That's what Gramsci, the famous
Hmm.
Italian
Yeah, theorist,
activist,
philosopher. Hmm.
theorist, activist called them. You have the
Hmm.
organic intellectuals who are actually not in the universities, and then you
Hmm.
have the traditional intellectuals. And the role of the intellectuals is actually to to provide the ideological
Framework.
mechanism
Yes, yes.
idea for the ruling elite to
Hmm.
continue to rule. So we
Hmm.
have to understand that. And every once in a while, you get some people poke out and learn real histories. But the universities are supposed to do that. But to the ones that run these countries were trained in the US. And
Yes.
so they're all the economists, if you go to Africa, all these economists and so on and so forth, they're like they went to school in the US, they have their MBAs and or even international schools that are based in Africa, but they are run by the West.
Hmm.
And so the West has won the ideological war because it can train a whole generation of people to believe in capitalism, to believe in imperialism without even seeing that it's imperialism. Look, you
Yes.
couldn't even use the word imperialism in the US. You couldn't even say the US is an imperialist country. I remember giving a paper just like 6 years ago saying how to understand the US as an imperialist country. That's
Hmm.
how bad it is in academia. But the sad part is the textbooks that you use in Jamaica, in Trinidad, in Haiti are written by these NGOs. um, and like I remember reading a textbook in Ghana where I did a lot of my research, where there's a whole section called on the benefits of colonialism.
Hmm.
Can you
Hmm.
imagine children, African children being taught that? Or in Burkina Faso, a friend who grew up
Well,
there,
well,
went
well,
to school there.
in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, I think that they learn the US textbooks and they learn about the same left-wing sort of, nonsense that we utter every time. Just the Republicans and the conservatives are the problem. The left-wing people are not. The liberals are not. So that is the sort, we do the same thing as the US universities do. And that is something that is also not very good. Now we have 1 minute left, Dr. Pierre. What would you say to your Haitian compatriots in terms of what's next for the future? What is next for Haiti?
Well, I think one of the things I've learned is a lot of Haitian academics and the bourgeois folks are saying, well, we cannot fight against the U.S., so we have to basically find a way to deal with them. And I would say that's completely the wrong point of view. And what we need to do is actually really call out U.S. imperialism for what it is, demonstrate how it works. Right now, it's working through the OAS and the Caribbean states. And so what we need to do is just really continue to call out what the U.S. is doing, how the U.S. is using us for its own regional and global objectives.
Thank you.
And until we do that, we're going to continue to stay under the boot of U.S. imperialism.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pierre. And we hope to have you on a live the next time we see each other.
That would
right?
be great.
So,
that would be
we
great.
we can coordinate behind the scenes. Thank you so much, Dr. Pierre. See you in another one.
All right. Thank you so much.
Same here. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Ciao.